Imagine this. Half of your paycheck disappears, not because you spend it, but because the government took it for Social Security. Sounds crazy, right? But that's the reality in China today. Beijing has basically said everyone must pay into the state pension system. No excuses. And they're cracking down hard. It is a desperate move that screams one thing. The Chinese economy is on the ropes. I'm here to break it down today to show you why this Social Security saga is another sign of China's collapsing economy. This month, August 1st, China's Supreme Court made it crystal clear. Any secret deal to dodge Social Security is illegal. In other words, no more under-the-table cash instead of benefits. Employers must pay into the system and employees cannot opt out. If a company doesn't comply, the worker can sue or quit and demand back pay. It's basically pay now or pay even more later. The era of wink wink, nudge nudge avoidance is over. The government wants every yuan it can get. Now, why were those deals so common to begin with? Because China's Social Security is insanely expensive. Combined employer and employee contributions can gobble up 40% of a worker's wage. An enormous burden. With costs so high, of course, companies and workers found ways to dodge it. Better to have the cash now in your pocket than trust a system that might not give much back later. But now Beijing is squeezing everyone to pay up, making it clear that shoring up the pension fund is priority number one. Here's the cruel joke. Workers are forced to pay these huge contributions, but what do they get at the end? For most ordinary folks in China, the answer is not much. The pension for a typical private sector retiree is pretty modest, often barely enough for basic needs after a lifetime of work. Meanwhile, guess who makes out like bandits? Government officials and public sector employees. They enjoy far bigger pensions, thanks to fat contribution bases and extra government perks. For example, ordinary private sector retirees may get only 3,000 yuan a month, while many ex-government employees pocket 8,000 yuan to 10,000 yuan. That's a staggering gap. No wonder many private sector workers feel it's a raw deal. They are pouring money in, but it seems like they are subsidizing someone else's comfortable retirement. A lot of people say, I'd rather keep the cash now than fund a system that won't care for me later. And they joke the system is like an ATM where you deposit and someone else withdraws. That sense of injustice is running sky high in China today. These mandatory payments hit workers where it hurts, their take-home pay. Imagine you earn 8,000 yuan a month in Beijing. Rent might eat up 3,000 yuan, and now you have to slice off a big chunk of what's left for Social Security. It's basically a pay cut disguised as a benefit. Less money for groceries, for your kids' needs, or any little luxury. For gig workers and the self-employed, it's even worse. Take a delivery driver making maybe 5,000 yuan a month. If he must pay full social insurance himself, since no employer helps, that could be around 800 yuan gone each month. That is the difference between making rent or not. I have met many Chinese drivers who literally have to choose between contributing to their pension or paying their current bills. So unsurprisingly, many opt out and just hope for the best. A policy meant to secure their future is actually endangering their present. And now think about small businesses, the restaurants, the shops, the little startups. They run on razor-thin margins. Suddenly, having to fund full Social Security for every worker is like a new 40% payroll tax. For many, that's make or break. They simply can't absorb that heat. What will they do? Some will lay off staff or freeze hiring to cut costs. Others might slash wages or benefits to offset the new expense. And many will hunt for loopholes, hiring part-timers instead of full-timers, or paying workers off the books in cash. Sure, that's illegal, but it's either that or bankruptcy, and some will risk it. The danger is more Chinese businesses going underground, paying, pushing parts of the economy into a gray zone with zero protections for workers. So you see, a policy meant to help employees could end up costing their jobs or pushing them into precarious work. Great job, policymakers in Beijing. And this crackdown cannot come at a worse time. China's economy is already wobbling. Growth has slowed. The once red-hot real estate market is collapsing. Developers are going bust. Apartments sit empty. And youth unemployment recently hit record, highs over 20%. It got so bad that the CCP stopped publishing the youth jobless data to avoid embarrassment. Millions of young people cannot find stable jobs, and more are stuck in gig work because companies aren't hiring full-time. In the middle of all this, the government is piling on another burden for employers and workers. It's like throwing an anchor to a drowning swimmer. Why now? Because Beijing is running out of options. The reality is, China's Social Security funds are bleeding cash. An aging society means lots of retirees drawing pensions, but not enough young workers paying in. Many provinces cannot pay pension on their own and rely on big bailouts from the central government each year. For example, a few Rust Belt provinces needed about 180 billion yuan from the central government last year just to fill their pension gaps. They know if those pensions don't get paid, there will be millions of angry seniors. A political nightmare. Social stability is everything in China, so the government will do whatever it takes to keep those checks flowing. Right now, that means squeezing the working population for more money now. It's basically a sign of a regime under severe financial stress. Instead of fixing the system or growing the economy, they're grabbing cash wherever they can to keep things afloat. And another striking thing is how they're doing this through pure force. Instead of making the pension system more attractive or asking people voluntarily, they drop the legal hammer. It's stick, but no carrot. Beijing isn't even trying to sugarcoat it. We've seen this pattern before, whether with strict COVID, lockdowns, or crackdowns on tech companies. The playbook is the same. Enforce compliance first, ask questions later. This heavy-handed approach shows how little public trust is. People weren't willingly paying in, so now they're being compelled to. And governing by fear and a mandate has become a pattern. The leadership's instinct for any problem is to tighten the screws. And that is the government running low on clever solutions, resorting to brute force to maintain control. And that tends to backfire over time. You can push people only so far before they push back. So, what could go wrong? Plenty. First, many small businesses might fold or hide, rather than comply, which will kill even more jobs and shrink the official economy, the opposite of what the CCP wants. Second, workers getting a smaller paycheck will spend less, which hurts the economy further when consumer spending is already weak. And the public mood? It's sour. On Chinese social media, people mock this as a universal pay cut rather than real social security. They joke that the government sees them as walking ATMs. Trust in the system is eroding. If life keeps getting harder and folks see their money taken with no clear benefit, some might even take their anger to the streets. For a government that prizes social stability above war, this policy is a high-stakes gamble. The very instability Beijing wants to avoid could flare up because of this. In trying to prevent a pension crisis, they may spark a crisis of public confidence. And the big question now is this just the beginning of squeezing the public? If the economy stays weak, the government might look for more ways to milk the cash cow. We could see new special contributions, taxes, or fees rolled out under more fancy slogans. Anything to plug the budget holes. And some even speculate a nationwide property tax or other surprise levies might be on the horizon. Now that they have effectively turned Social Security into an ATM for CCP coffers, who knows what's next? It's just a slippery slope. Every time the state leans on coercion to take money from the private sector, it risks killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. You just can't keep squeezing forever without breaking something. But if those in power feel cornered, they might still double down. And that means ordinary people and entrepreneurs could face one hit after another, all in the name of saving the system, while their own livelihoods get squeezed. Now, here's the part they don't want you to say out loud. China's population isn't just shrinking, it's imploding. Birth rates are at record lows, and the number of retirees is exploding. So what happens when you have fewer workers paying in and more seniors cashing out? The pension fund turns into a leaky bucket with no bottom. And this is the Great Tsunami, an aging society that's bankrupting the system faster than Beijing can patch it. And when the math doesn't work, the only solution they know is to raid the wallets of people still working. Unfortunately. Oh, and remember, just last year, when they raised the retirement age for the first time in 60 years, yeah, that wasn't about keeping you active or valuing your experience. It was about delaying your payout because the pension system is gasping for air. Think about it. When your Ponzi scheme runs low on cash, you don't cut benefits for the insiders. You make the outsiders wait longer to collect. It's like telling a drowning man he can't have a life jacket until next year. In the end, this Social Security saga is a microcosm of China's broader economic collapse. It shows an economy losing steam, a government grasping at straws, and a public caught in the vice. A program meant to protect people has turned into the one that people resent. Instead of sharing prosperity, it's sharing pain. The stark inequality, where public sector employees get the lion's share and ordinary workers get crumbs, has shattered trust in the system. It's basically a sign that the pie isn't growing, just being redivided, and regular folks getting a smaller slice. For many, the social contract is just broken. They don't believe the sacrifices they make today will pay off later. And by forcing compliance through fear, the government is choosing short-term fixes over long-term reform, which only makes things worse. And it's just another glaring sign of China's fiscal crisis. When a government starts raiding its citizens' wallets to cover its bills, you know something is fundamentally wrong. It might keep things afloat for now, but it's cannibalizing the future, discouraging businesses, dampening consumer spending, and fueling cynicism. And that is the ugly truth behind the official narratives. It's a fiscal nightmare unfolding in slow motion, and ordinary people are the ones paying the price. Stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, watch your wallet, especially if you're watching this in China. Because right now, the Chinese government is reaching straight into it, and there's no end in sight.